All right, welcome. Care planning on fire. So come on in, and step inside. Since you need through the good microphone, you're inside the booth, and we get to seeing the screen that's also a lot better. So I'm Dave Carlson, representing VA in this process. This use case is based upon 2 years worth of work that we've been doing at the HL7 Fire Connected Hub. So it's all about fire standards that support the creation and sharing of care plans among multiple organizations, multiple care providers. So Amy, just to introduce her as a use case, Amy has hypertension and diabetes as existing chronic conditions. She's visiting her primary care provider at the start of this use case, where she's now diagnosed with chronic kidney disease. So it's actually a very realistic clinical situation that both hypertension and diabetes contribute toward kidney failure. And then multiple chronic conditions are a very real challenging part of our coordinated care across multiple care providers. So another important element of this use case is the incorporation of evidence-based clinical practice guidelines. So Elsevier has a knowledge base of their practice guidelines and order sets. They've created a FHIR API endpoint that delivers those clinical practice guidelines in the form of FHIR standards. There's plan definition, activity definition. These are, and actually I was just talking to someone a moment ago in the hallway about creating an HL7 implementation guide to help get an agreement and standardization of how to represent clinical practice guidelines for sharing as FHIR standards. So it's an important part of our use case that those practice guidelines are used to inform the creation of the care plan by the primary care provider. Underlying this entire use case is a FHIR open API platform that's provided by Perspecta Health Concourse platform. So that allows us to create and share these FHIR resources across a number of the team. An important member of the team is the patient. So we have patient link, who's demonstrating an application where the patient also is notified about changes to her care plan, creation of a care plan. She's able to review that in her patient portal. She's also able to perform activities. There are activities within her care plan that have been assigned to Amy, the patient. She's able to retrieve those and perform those activities at home via her patient application. The care plan also includes a referral to a radiologist for ultrasound, kidney ultrasound. So we have that station here where Amy will visit a radiologist. They'll take the kidney ultrasound, report that back into the FHIR platform as well to be shared with the next station, which is a nephrologist. So it's a referral for Amy for evaluation of her kidney disease and provide her further guidance toward that. So we have a specialist role using a Smart on FHIR application to review that care plan. Another specialist for a podiatrist. Amy has diabetes, and related to that, there's foot pain associated with peripheral neuropathy. One more complications, and this is a realistically complicated use case. I like to think of it as a realistically complex example. Amy is a veteran. As a veteran, she also is diagnosed with PTSD and receiving mental health treatment and medication. That's protected health information, so it cannot be disclosed by default. Yet it is very important for patient safety to have access to that. So that's incorporated into our Smart on FHIR application to evaluate our medication list and gain access for evaluating medications. And finally, we'll have a review of that Perspecta platform. So with that as an overall context, we'll start with Jeff from Allscripts for the primary care provider.
Okay, thank you. Again, my name is Jeff. I'm with Allscripts, and we're going to start walking through Amy's story. And as Dave said, her story does begin with a visit to her primary care doctor. And during the course of that visit, the physician diagnoses her with chronic kidney disease, is now going to create a care plan for her using an Allscripts Smart on FHIR application. Now, once the application is launched, the provider will choose the diagnosis that he wants to be working on and will then load a plan, evidence-based care plan template that is specific to the disease that he's chosen and will also have some associated actions for him to choose from. So let's go ahead and load that up. Here is, as you can see, her record in the EHR, and she has kidney disease. And we're going to launch the application. And again, we've got her problem list. We're going to select kidney disease. And here we have a plan template for her for treating her condition. We load that, and here we have a set of orders. Now, The user can select from this list of orders that have been provided by the template, or they can add their own custom orders if they want. At the end of this, though, they will have a chance to review the care plan that is going to be created within the AllScripts system. They can see the orders that are going to be added into the system. They have the opportunity to edit them, add or delete before it's finally posted into the system. So let's go ahead and give Amy some orders. We'll give her a lab, medication, and hopefully you can see one of the things to note with this medication is that not only is it the medication, but it has its strength and it also has its SIG, and even the refills as well. It is the full medication prescription that's going to be written into the system. So the provider doesn't have to choose all of these pieces independently. They come in as part of the care guide and are ready to go. And let's give Amy one last thing, radiology, since she is going to be visiting her nephrologist. Let's add an ultrasound. So now we have 3 orders, and now we're going to review them. The orders did not come through. I apologize for that. But anyway, at this point, normally the orders will be showing along with the care plan. They will be doing the edit. And now what we're going to do is save that care plan back into the AllScripts Touchful THR along with the orders. And also we're going to push a copy of that care plan and that order set over to the Perspective system. And their service is going to allow the care plan to be accessed by the other members of the care team. So let's go ahead and save that. And there, it's been saved. So now, Elsevier is going to talk a little bit about the plan template that they provided to us that we use to generate the care plan for Amy.
Thank you, Jeff. Hello everyone, my name is Rada. I'm from Elsevier, and today we'll be showcasing Elsevier plan definitions. As primary care provider diagnoses Amy with chronic kidney disease, he or she serves his latest evidence-based clinical practice guideline for Elsevier. In this case, AllScripts reaches out to Elsevier file server and retrieves plan definitions and activity definitions which will become part of Amy's care plan. The true value of Elsevier order sets is in its evidence-based content, order sets, guidances, and referrals. With over 500 order sets in Elsevier library, we can take a closer look at the chronic kidney disease order set. This order set, which again was transformed into 5-way plan definition, has indication orders, general care, radiology orders that will become part of Amy's care plan. One of the orders that Jeff placed in AllScripts system was a radiology order, and you can see that along with order specification, physician will have access to the guidance for the order on the right. Also, at the point of care, physician will have access to quality measures as recommended by National Quality Forum, and all of the relevant citations and references for that quality measure. Throughout this patient journey, physician will have access to and follow Elsevier order sets, and next you will hear from patient Jim about Amy's participation at home. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so let's take a look from a patient perspective on how their data will come in. This is called MyLinks, so this is our consumer-facing app. We believe that when care is coordinated successfully, everybody knows what role they play in this healthcare plan. And when it's strengthened through communication, they are more able to understand their plans, what's going on with their health, but to better understand their conditions. And they're more empowered to be an active participant in their healthcare plan. So if you can see here, Amy has already started using MyLinks, and she's aggregated some of her data into MyLinks, into her PHA. She can also receive notifications. Any changes to the care plan, you'll get notified, and she's able to receive that information from the health concourse. This new information will aggregate with her old information, and you'll see here that in bold, that's how you know the difference. And if we click on a personal health care plan for Amy, you'll see that she was ordered by her doctor to take her blood pressure and weight at home. So she's able to view her healthcare plan to better adhere to what her doctor has prescribed. And if we look at this view, we're able to view that Amy for a week has monitored her her blood pressure and her weight, and then she is able to send those results back to her care plan provider. So simultaneously, this communication has gone through Riley's using FHIR to help her better understand what's next. So Amy actually is going to be going to the radiologist now for the renal ultrasound.
Thank you. If you don't mind, can I speak Korean? Because those Korean people. Is that my boss? 제 이름 김성빈이고 피트니스 채널에서 하고 있습니다. 오늘 데몬스트레이트 해줄 파일 내용은 앞에서 봤듯이 전체적인 내용에서 파이어 베이스의 정보를 주고받을 수 있는 기반을 시뮬레이션 할 거고 저희는 이제 다이그룹하고 파이어를 하나로 푸시를 해주면서 전체적인 클리니컬 내용에서 유효한 시나리오를 하고 있습니다. 에이밍은 지금 신장 전이로부터 케어플랜을 받아가지고 그 오더를 받은 상태고요. 저희가 받은 거를 촬영을 한 상태에서 과거의 영상이나 이런 것들을 같이 참고를 해서 보는 시나리오입니다. 에이밍의 영상이 일단 다 올려놨고요. 울트라사운드의 영상을 케어플랜을 받은 상태에서 촬영을 했어가지고 그리고 뒤에다가 과거 있는 프라이어 인쇄를 통해서 전체를 같이 리뷰를 할 수 있습니다. 사실 이 뷰어는 웹사이트에서 조작을 하기 때문에 같이 취용할 수 있는 그런 환경이고요. 이게 이제 이미지를 이제 리뷰를 하고 난 다음에 여기다가 필요한 부분에 같이 이렇게 들어가는데 이게 이제 영상을 다 이제 확인을 하고 저희가 리딩을 해서 활용을 한 이후에는 이 영상을 저희 이제 파이어 기반을 해서 다른 곳에다가 쏴주는데 저희 이제 IPP라는 리페이지 비즈니스 플랫폼을 통해서 파이어 베이스의 유닛 스터디 리소스를 퍼스펙타의 컴포스에 보내게 되면 스마트폰 파이어를 같이 해서 저희 이미지를 같이 볼 수 있는 그런 환경이 구성됩니다.
That's going to be difficult to follow. So at this station, Amy will be visiting with two specialists. In the beginning with a primary care physician, her care plan was created for chronic kidney disease, and there's a referral to a nephrologist, and as I mentioned in the introduction, also to a podiatrist for foot pain associated with diabetes. In both cases, these specialists are using the Smart on FHIR application. So I'm going to mention just a bit about the standards on here and how that supports interoperability. So a Smart on FHIR application was created as a prototype for this case, for the use case, for the care planning. A Smart on FHIR app can be embedded seamlessly within any organization's EHR system, Allscripts, Cerner, Epic, or others. So in this case, what we're using is an EHR simulation environment that's actually available free and open source. It's a really excellent environment for developers and testing for your own Smart on FHIR applications. It's from HSPC with the Healthcare Services Platform Consortium. This is an open source environment. Included within that is an EHR simulator. That's what we're using to demonstrate this. The EHR simulator shows that Amy Jackson is the patient whose chart is open. Vince Jones, who's the nephrologist in our case, who's logged into this. Within an EHR system that provides support for Smart on FHIR application, there is always some means, this is specific to the user interface of each EHR, but some way for them to register Smart on FHIR applications that are available within their EHR environment. And then the Smart on FHIR application appears within some sub-window within the EHR system. So this would be the Smart on FHIR application. The EHR would have some means of displaying a set of available Smart on FHIR apps. This is a really good environment to illustrate both from development and how it might appear within other products. Now both of these specialists are using the same Smart on FHIR application. In the case of the nephrologist, the first thing that he's going to do is take a look at the care plan. So the care plan was created by the primary care physician, shared via the integration platform. So he's not having to receive a copy of it, that he's pointing to the shared source and retrieving the same shared care plan. Within that care plan, so the fire care plan specification includes ability to reference a plan definition. Plan definition is another fire resource that we're using to represent the clinical practice guidelines. So the practice guideline was received by Allscripts to create the care plan. So when the care plan is shared, it also shares a reference to the same original source of clinical practice guidelines. That's something that from my work at VA we believe is very, very important because veterans receive more and more care outside of VA by multiple providers. And we want to assure that there's a consistent practice of care and a consistent set of guidelines that are used across multiple providers. So the ability to see within this care plan the plan definition that was used, and the plan definition itself then includes reference back to, in this case, the Elsevier knowledge source. There's a link take them directly back to the Elsevier clinical key library. They're able to receive to review the same practice guidelines, including the evidential source underlying these recommendations. So they're all working from the same set of evidence. So back to the application now. When it's from two activities within this from the specialist. The imaging study, we saw that was kidney ultrasound we just performed in the prior step. Imaging study is another fire resource that's shared via this common platform. The imaging study is shared to the nephrologist in this case. He's able to review the most recent imaging study, click on a link within this which takes them directly to launching the Infinite product care viewer, the diagnostic image viewer. So the image viewer now allows the nephrologist to review the kidney ultrasound, where in their role they can use this to help evaluate the progression of the kidney disease. The second thing we're going to show from the specialist is making a modification to the care plan. So one of the roles they take is adding education to Amy's care plan. So they can go in and from a fire standard, there's a fire procedure request. This is obviously a bit more technical than it would be from a physician's point of view. We're trying to show the use of standards in the context of the care plan. So a procedure request, they can add a new request into a care plan, add it into the CKD care plan, choose a procedure of a renal care education, and add this. So this is now included within the list of procedures on her care plan. Now underlying this Smart and Fire application is creating a fire procedure request resource. It's using the correct SNOMED codes for this procedure, so it's an interoperable research, which is then shared back to the primary care provider, as well as being shared to the patient. So an education may include links to the patient in order to receive educational content at home. So that's what we want to show from the nephrologist. So Kathleen is going to come up and talk a bit about the diatrist and the choice of medications for equipment.
And then when I'm done, you'll give a quick overview and read, if you want. Okay. All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Foot, and I'm seeing Amy for pain in her feet because of the diabetes. So I'm considering that in addition to orthotics that would be offloading and help with pain, that I'll prescribe a short-term opioid. And I looked through, would be helpful. I looked through her medication list, and I don't see anything that would be a problem with an opioid. So I go ahead and do it. Fire request, medication request, and I'm going to put it into plan for Amy. And I'm choosing tramadol, which is an opioid. Correct dosage, add, and I get a warning. This warning is coming from the clinical decision support system and is saying there's something that is contraindicated, but Dr. Foot hasn't been able to see it in the list. So he thinks there must be something more that I'm not having access to. So he's going to do, it's called break the glass, which is an override of the access control system. Goes out here, breaks the glass. There are EHR systems that have this capability. Having broken the glass, quickly goes back to check on what the problem was with the tramadol. and adds it. This time, the clinical decision support has shown what the problem was. Amy, who's a veteran, has anti-anxiety medications for post-traumatic stress disorder, and that's a benzodiazepine. They're contraindicated with opioids. It also provides guidance. An alternative is gabapentin, which is a pain reliever that is not opioid. And that information could have come from the knowledge base, such as the one also here provides. So, Dr. Foote changes it to gabapentin, changes the dosage, adds, and this time it's successful, it's safe. So, what the issue that this is illustrating is that patient safety trumps patient privacy when it comes to issues that could be very dangerous for patients. Close this, unbreak the glass. This works. Okay, there we have it. Gabapentin's been ordered. And we also have, this is a veteran, a VA provider. So we've now marked it with the things that are now required in the US to put markings on that say, this is coming from a federal agency and it has to have additional safeguards. So with that, to give a quick summary, and then we'll go to sorry.
보여드린 내용은 앞에서 있었듯이 케어 플랜을 먼저 수정을 하려고 시도를 해본 과정에서 권한이 있는 사람 같은 경우는 바로 수정이 가능한데 이제 오피오이드 항정증성 약물이죠. 그거를 이제 사용할 때 어떤 이미지 돌리는 거죠. 이걸 사용하면 이걸 사용하셨을 때 어떤 문제점들이 전부 이 시스템에서만 이루어지는 게 아니라 SB에서 통해서 해가지고 이걸 가지고 브레이크 클래스라는 기능을 통해서 약간 같은 권한을 가지고 수정을 지금 이것들이 전부 앱 내에서 처리가 되는 게 아니라 이 전체 케어팀 관리하고 있는 오더스가
Thank you. Will you translate again after I'm done, please? Appreciate that. Bo Dagnall. So what you've seen so far is a patient experience in a couple of many different encounters in different organizations, all using different systems. A primary care physician using an all-script system, a patient in their home setting using their own personal devices, a radiology system, and now a couple of different specialists using their own system. All the time while that's happening, the data's been shared and made available, and the care plan itself has been made available across all these different care providers, despite the fact that they all use different technologies. What we haven't seen is behind the scenes has been a platform, interoperability platform called Health Concourse, that has been enabling all the data sharing and exchange across that. So here at the last station, I'm going to show you a UI that shows you the comprehensive collection of data that was accumulated from her baseline set, Amy's baseline set, as well as the data that we collected across all the different stations, and show you that there was a platform underneath this entire scenario. Okay, that's it.
현재 이제 시스템에서 이제 아까 보셨다시피 로스프레스에서 만든 페이션트 링크에서 발생한 데이터를 라디올로지 오피스에서 발생한 페이션과 우리 스터디 해서 헬스 컴퍼스라는 플랫폼이 정말 정상이거든요. 그래서 좀 관계되는 수업을 이렇게 한번 써볼 수 있다고 하니까 보시면 될 것 같습니다.
Thank you. Okay, so here's the UI. Now the UI itself is just the physical form, right? But behind the scenes is a cloud-based interoperability platform that's been used by all the different stations. What I'm showing you now is the care plan. You can see this care plan treats diabetes, myelitis, and chronic kidney disease. You can see all the different activities that have been done across all the different steps that you were walked through. You can see Amy's care team, which really importantly includes herself. She's an own member of her own care team, which is why she's able to engage in both the viewing of her care plan and her data, but also the creation of new data, as well as many other specialists. Now she also has additional care plans from her previous encounters, but this is the one that we focused on for this particular scenario. Now as you would have seen over at the Elsevier station, and again here at the specialist station, is that these care plans are based on plan definitions. These plan definitions are also computable artifacts that describe the evidence that you use to define a tailored care plan for a patient, right? So what Dave was able to show you earlier is also referenceable within this platform. Now, some of the data that was being collected is also available. So when she was over with the Patient Link app, she was able to look at her care plan and generate some additional data about herself. She was able to record, in this case, body weights, and blood pressures, and other vital signs that you captured through the app that you now see available as part of her longitudinal record, embedded with all the other data that we have about her from her history and from other sources. You see that these are all marked in the source column as coming from the patient themselves. That's the attribution and the provenance of that particular data. If I scroll down, you will also find that we have medication requests. So when we were showing you the specialist system that we had gabapentin being ordered, and we had clonazepam in our existing data set, all the information that you saw at the previous station was also shared in the form of a medication request FHIR resource with a back-end platform. And this UI just gives you verification that it's there, as well as all the other historical data that's there. And just to show you, this is all available as a FHIR resource, but we are all doing this through standards-based technology. So here's the FHIR structure that's being communicated across all the different stations. Right? This is the performance of the actual FHIR standard. Now on the top, as you pointed out to, there's a lot of metadata being added. So the core data starts right about here. This is the metadata, which includes some of the CUI security tags because it came from a VA source. There's a federal requirement that says we have to label it with these tags that indicate it came from a federal source. So as part of the ingestion and processing of that data, we can add additional information about it that makes it more contextual and more useful when you actually receive it. The other thing that you probably saw were there were some imaging studies that were done at the radiology station. So you saw the details through the radiology UI API, but the longitudinal record also needs to have all those details as part of this record, right? So here's that imaging study that was shown in the radiology section, and there's also a link into a lightweight viewer, right? Not the full-fledged viewer that's available here, but again, you want to be able to have access to all the information in one consolidated place. Here's evidence that it's there. There were also some procedure requests that were done, referrals and activities that were done as part of the care plan. Those are in here. I can show you some of the goals. Some of the goals around Amy that were tracked as part of the care plan. A care plan is a set of activities that are there to accomplish certain goals. The goals themselves are computable objects you want to have as part of the record, also stored as FHIR resources. Everything, the goal, the condition, the medication, the procedure, the care plan, all FHIR-based definitions of these resources, you can see. Now to kind of summarize all of this, we have sort of views of the metadata tab, which sort of shows you all the data at a glance that we've now collected and how many sources it came from. So for instance, we have 12 conditions from one source, we've got 3 care plans from 2 sources, we've got 43 observations from 2 sources, and as the patient is seen across multiple different stations, multiple different providers, this list of things will grow because they're all being fed into the same core platform. So in summary, this is what Health Concourse does. It was the platform that allowed the interoperability of the data and the care plan across all the stations that you saw for Amy's scenario. And I'm happy to take any questions, and I will also ask for a translation of the key points